90, Holy Ghost filled, you will sing Ganikate. I live the high life cause I'm heavenly minded. Hold up, I'm a 90s baby. So really, you made me walk up to you and you don't subscribe to the channel? Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video and share it with someone. I know you will. Righteous like so wicked. Righteous like no wicked. You righteous so wicked. Righteous like no. Well, Tasila Lungu's constituency seat is again up for conversation. So as you may remember, she spent most of the late last year in the US, where she went to give birth. And I think she spent, if not 6 months or more, in the US. And then the conversation started popping up to say, no, she's an absentee member of parliament. But then again, it was explained to say she had applied to parliament, notifying them to say she'll be on maternity leave. So that dwindled down when she flew back in the country, and she had an appearance with the Drug Enforcement Commission. And then now, that her dad died, should have been now, this is like a month and some days, because he died on June 5th last month. And she's been in South Africa for most of the part. But since then, another conversation has ensued to say, is there a possibility of a Chagwa constituency by-election popping up? And it seems like it's catching some wave. But then again, if she had applied to say they are still in mourning, and considering it's the Zambian government that has sued the Lungu family in South Africa, she was simply justified to say it's because of that court case. So until that court case does its run, then I don't think the Speaker of the National Assembly can call for any by-elections. So let's just assume this entire month is finishing. And next month, maybe part of it, that's when the judgment or in the case between the Attorney General of Zambia and the Lungu family finishes next month, which will push it to pretty much end of August. So if the ratification is supposed to take place, it's supposed to be 3 months after the funeral happens, whether it takes place in South Africa or it takes place in Zambia. So because there is that 3-month situation that they're supposed to consider, which will bring back to, I think we only have 5 months before the official general elections. So it wouldn't make any sense to have by-elections between then. But then, anyway, let's wait and see how that plays out. But you can see people having a conversation there. You say another by-election in Chagwa, celebrations there. And then George Mtonga also said, oh, Chagwa, feeling excited. So that is Tasila Lungu in a constituency right before she had to travel to South Africa. And then Chief Etari also weighs in over the same, say, let's go for by-elections in Chagwa. Tasila is not coming back home, looking at the court documents. So he seems to have had access to some court documents, which is published on his platform there. And then a number of media platforms seems to be running with the story. And this is what it reads, saying, it is denied that the respondents are temporary residents of South Africa. And at this stage, the first to the second respondents, that's pretty much the Lungu family, are aspiring for the option of to permanently live as residents of South Africa for reasons stated above. So it seems like the Lungu family has applied to be permanent residents in South Africa. So that's where people are saying if she's applied to be a permanent resident as part of the First Lady and the rest of the Lungu kids, and the sister to former late President Edgar Lungu, then she might as well lose her constituency seat. Let's wait and see how that plays out. Chief Etari doubles down, saying, "I knew it. The truth has now come out. It was about cases. They want to be refugees like me." So he says they simply want to be like him on the self-imposed exile. But they could have done it better. We will talk. So he says, and then he says, just that. It's just that the family is a former head of state. Otherwise, the cases could be very difficult to be considered for political asylum. But since they are a former first family, they can be considered. Alternatively, they can use money and buy residence or citizenship in any country on earth of their choice, which is the easiest. So he's even advising them there. Chief Etari is saying, I did not mean that they are a former first family, them applying for permanent residence in South Africa or on political grounds or asylum, it would have been very difficult, but because of they've got that tagline of a former first family, that's the advantage that they have. If not, they can simply buy citizenship. That's Chief Etari advising the Lungu family there. And then obviously Kalemba has also carried on the same story to confirm, to say those court documents that Chief Etari might have published might have had some truth. So according to Kalemba, they say, we do not wish to go back to Zambia, Lungu family there. So in an article, they say former first family, former first lady Esther Lungu has told the Pretoria court in South Africa that she, together with her sister-in-law, Betha Lungu, and children, Tesila, Daliso, and Chieso Lungu, no longer wish to return to Zambia and are thinking of changing their immigration status to permanent residence in South Africa. So it seems like all those people listed there are intending to stay back in South Africa. In an affidavit filed by before the court, Esther disclosed that she, along with her 3 children and her sister-in-law, seeking continued protection in South Africa because they no longer feel safe to or welcome in Zambia. At this stage, it is our desire for any other first 6 respondents to continue to reside in Zambia as permanent basis. Reads part of the document, as I read you in that document. So pretty much the family has applied, or they wish to be residents in South Africa, according to that information there. Obviously, they already double down, but zona lesson na yo ukisatupenda bofe Lungus, the Lungus as the first family, did they care about anything apart from themselves? So he says they only cared about themselves as the first family. It's quite ironic that Chief Etari is the one who's jabbing at the people that fed him and supported him. Anyway, it's politics at the end of the day. They benefited from the presidency, which SATA fought for, but they later destroyed PF, and now they have left us with an empty tomb, referring to that tomb that was dug by the government for Edgar Lungu. But from a look of things, if the Lungu family wins this case, so the former family are going to put the body of Edgar Lungu to rest in South Africa, that will leave that tomb empty there. That's what he's referring to here, the tomb in Zambia. And then Laura Miti questions Esther Lungu. Obviously, people, after this news is circulated, people are now weighing in with regard to how things stand. So Laura Miti says, reports that the First Lady Esther Lungu has told the South African court that the last words of her husband spoke to her before sleeping into sedation, he did not wake up from, were about President Hakainde Hichilema, President Hakainde Hichilema, he treated him, and how he wanted to be defined. Is that how he wanted to be defined in his death or narrative? She asked to say, is that true? That's what the late president had as the last conversation with Esther Lungu, where he was complaining about Hakainde Hichilema's mistreatment of him. And so Laura questions that to say, how true is that? And then the Zambian government urges citizens abroad without valid papers to return home. So there's been this conversation where the Minister of International Relations is asking for Zambians to return home instead of being deported. So if you're a Zambian citizen staying in any foreign land without papers, the government is wishing you to return home. And then George Mutonga is based in the US, says that attempting to survive without papers under Donald Trump is a walk in the park compared to someone starting all over in Zambia. So they would rather survive out there than come back to Zambia. That's according to the Zambian in diaspora. So whether with papers or not, they would rather win it there. And then it seems like the accumulated cost of expenses of the funeral up to this point is like 1 million rand in expenses. So according to Kasonde Mwenda, so probably when whoever wins that court case, probably that bill will be on them. Considering that the Lungu family wanted to put to rest Edgar Chagwa Lungu, should have been like now 2 weeks ago. Now considering they're fighting in court, so probably the court, if the government loses, the Zambian government loses, that 1 million rand is likely to be cost on the Zambian government. That's if the court allows it. What else is in the news? Bill 7 seems to be going ahead, and Nevas Mumba to say Hakainde Hichilema did a good job for deferring the conversation of Bill 7. It offers for people to have a consultative process about it. Obviously, the church holds a different view. They simply asked the government to withdraw that and forget about it. But it seems like the government is going ahead. What is ex-Info MP challenges the Electoral Commission of Zambia about by-elections amid court appeal. So as you may be aware, she's out on bail, but her seat is being contested sometime this month. So that's what she's contesting about, to say, how can the by-elections go ahead when there's a court case still going on? And then constitutional amendments are a requirement. It has to be done, Hakainde Hichilema. So that's Bill 7. The president insists that has to be done. The church, on the other hand, appeals to the government to hold it. And then multi-ruling assault on democracy. It is shocking to blatantly contempt of rule of law, says Mukandira. So according to Bill 7, there are still a conversation. You can see Hichilema declares medicine theft an economic crime. And that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. So there's a likelihood of by-elections as things stand if that Tasila Lungu's seat is nullified. And the Lungu family is likely to get permanent residence in South Africa based on those court documents. And that's the news, ladies and gentlemen.